So should be good. Okay, so was it, sorry, a Slack message or an issue
Yeah.
or Slack?
Yes. So it was the
In contributor success.
yes.
Vaguely rings a bell. Let me remind myself. Okay, so um okay, so I can open that issue up and I can share my screen so anyone watching later understands what we're talking about. So yeah, essentially this was an issue that you created and
And then I labeled it.
you labeled it and it randomly pinged someone. Um, so you want to understand why or where or how or who, right? So when you did the label, um,
Because if I take a look at the slash label or the where it does the label, I see where it CCs people, but I don't understand why it's CCing this particular person.
yeah,
Because it's
so
a mixture of contributor success, so it I would have thought that it would have pinged someone from contributor,
I don't think it's that smart. Oh,
but
actually, maybe. No, I don't. Let's have a look. So when we label, um, we get in hey someone, and then we get CC mentions. And if you're a team member, then it doesn't mention anyone. If you're not, then it goes mentions and instructions. And mentions comes from if there are any provided, it takes away you. So you might have been provided as the mention because you created the issue. I'm not 100% sure. Regardless, if you were, you would have been taken away. If you weren't, then this would have been emptied. And then, yeah, it just says take a random available coach.
so my problem was I just read the Ruby wrong then because I when you did it earlier I thought it was only if the person was provided, I guess.
Yeah, so it will always, the CC mentions, if it's team member, then it will be blank. Otherwise, it will always do the mentions. Um, Now I
Okay.
have got an MR that I should really get back to, or maybe if some kind soul would like to take it over, because I do think we probably want to slacken, loosen to whatever you want to call it off a little bit. This came especially out of the labeler form, which obviously amplified the sort of noise significantly. Um, and I haven't got round to finishing it off, to be honest, but I still think that it might be a valid MR to kind of pursue. So essentially, so when you label an issue, what we were going to do is remove the mention because we just kind of felt that when you add a label, it will kind of cause the issue to go into that team's queue of some sort. They will process it in some way, shape, or form if they've got like a triage process, whatever you want to call it. Otherwise, it won't. It's all good. Um, then what else have we got? Label action. So yeah, I stopped providing the mentions to the front end component. Then for manage merge request page, what have we done? Manage issue controller. Oh, so that's interesting. So why did I make a change on the manage issue controller, but not the manage merge request controller? let's just check. So I would have thought I would have made the same. Maybe just because there's far fewer merge requests. Let's just have a look at. So that's the wrong one. Merge request. That's the right one. So label. Oh, so actually, we already don't mention anyone when.
Right, because you mark it as ready yourself, right?
I mean, you. How do you mean? Sorry.
So with a merge request, you have the whole GitLab bot ready, right? That goes ahead and does the mention itself, right?
Yeah, that's kind of a different thing, though. Like, if we're focusing on labeling, then
Oh, I get what you're saying.
I mean, if anything, I'd say maybe the logic should be something like, oh, if you're labeling your own merge request, then it doesn't, or whatever. I don't know. It also kind of reminds me, or I've kind of noticed that we're still doing start thread, and I'm sure we had an MR to stop doing start thread, because threads need to be resolved. So, like, I think it's fine when you ask for help to start a thread, which somebody then responds to. It's fine when you request a review for it to start a thread. Although even that one, I might argue maybe. No, I think that makes sense. But when you're labeling, I don't think it should start a thread because that then blocks the MR being merged until someone resolves that thread. So there's a couple of reasonably quick wins there, I think. That yeah, I'm not sure like when you label an issue that it really needs to mention anyone. So I had this draft MR up to remove that. It might even be that this is ready to be merged, to be honest, and just need somebody to validate my assumptions. Um, and then yeah, from this point of view, yeah, we should probably switch from start thread. So do we start thread? Yeah, so we're starting thread for all of them. But issues, it doesn't really matter. Threads don't really need resolving. Um, but yeah. Any thoughts, Jim, Dennis?
I think just as long as you document those that start thread thing somewhere, I think that'd be a good start at least. Let someone do that
So
because you
so
said there's a couple quick wins, but
yeah, absolutely. So I guess the first thing is just to check whether there's an MR open or if there's an issue or okay, so there's nothing to do with threads in there. And there's nothing to do with threads in there. So let's just check for issues quickly. So Dennis, is it like almost sub-zero temperature for you today as well?
End of week. So
Oh,
today
okay.
it's still okay, but end of week gets
Okay.
sub-zero. For you, you already have snow?
Well, there was an like frost and ice. I had to de-ice the car this morning.
Oh, oh,
It was 1 degree when I left the house. So
oh.
um, I don't know what is that. Is that 32 for you US folk or
that'd be like 33,
yeah.
33 or 34.
Um, yeah, so
Depends
this
on you.
looks like the issue. Let's just have a look where I kind of got to in terms of um, implementation plan. This kind of looks like I might have used Duo as a test at some point to create this implementation plan. Um, I'm not sure I agree. So things have changed a little bit since then. We're not using GitLab bot anymore. And I'm not sure if we discussed it, but I personally don't think that I don't have a problem with when you request a review or when you request help with that starting a thread. I think that kind of makes sense. You're asking somebody for something, I want a review, or I want some help, and I think that a thread makes sense for that. Whereas the labeling is kind of a this action has happened, so it shouldn't really need to be resolved. But yeah, I should probably try and update this, right? I feel like simplifying it. So I guess first question is, do you generally agree with that? That we should only change the MR label thing not to start a thread?
Yeah, I agree with that.
But also removing the mentions you said, or
so that was for issues, which is already handled by this MR. And again, whether you want to do this simultaneously, concurrently, whatever you want to call it, Dennis, but maybe like if you think this looks okay, like maybe you could do a quick review approve and we'll get this merged as well. It looks to me like it might be ready to go. I don't know if the pipeline's green. So I'll just quickly tweak this issue. So when creating sign labels, use this. Problem is open a thread. Yeah, okay, great. So to be fair, this does specifically mention labeling, but I'll say here, I'll change this a little bit to don't start threads when labeling merge requests. Segmentation plan. We'll do a white one and a label quick win and probably back end. Not sure if there's front end required. It's probably just back end. Yeah. So we did find this. Manage merge request controller. So I think that they take that to add no or add to comment. And then I think this uses the manageable concern. Chose the start thread. So I think this will need to be updated.
All right, Dennis, you made me hungry for breakfast.
enjoy your breakfast.
That's assuming I can navigate without tripping over things again.
So we'll do that, and then that comes from the GitLab REST service. So does that already implement? So we've presumably got start thread, haven't got add comment or add note, so that needs to be added to that as well. Uh, tests. I'm gonna mute you for a second, Jim, while you're crunching there. Right, so that looks okay to me. Oh, I already had the backend label anyway. And I'm also going to change it from a bug. I do need to read up exactly what our definitions are at some point, but I would say a bug is something that we didn't intend it to do, if that makes sense. But it was built to do that. That was just the wrong thing to do, if that makes sense. So it's deliberately built that way. So I'd say it's a feature to change the behavior. So I'm going to change that. But then it's all good. Yeah, nice. Cool.
So regarding the open merge request, you just pointed me to.
Yeah.
There's one GitLab Duo comment which I would also, let's say discuss.
This one.
Yeah.
So API payload still includes, but this parameter appears to only be used for issue labeling endpoint, not the merge request endpoint. Okay. Since this component handles both issues. Okay, let's have a look. So I'm gonna grab the branch. Gonna stop sharing this. Gonna check out the branch and then share. Share my other one. Okay, so we've got the manage issue page, we've got the manage merge request page, and we've got the label action, I think it's saying. So we've got a title prop. Is this what it was saying?
Yeah.
So the API payload includes issue title, but this parameter appears to only be used. Okay, so yes, we've got the title there, and then the label action, handle submit, depending on whether it's an issue or not, makes the API call. Oh, interesting. It's on line 168 of the label action. Whoops. I think I'm going to try rebasing this because title isn't there. So, and now it is cool. Okay, so that was a really interesting observation by Duo because it was actually based on the, I don't know what I call it, like merge results, if that makes sense. Okay, so now we're sending the issue title, which is props title, but it's suggesting for manage issue. So remind me, what do we do? We do. Okay, so for each component, so we define the components up here or the actions. So the label one, we are passing the title, the issues, and then manage merge request page. For label, we are passing the title there as well. So just going to reread that comment. So the API payload includes props title, but the parameter appears to only be used for issue labeling. So let's just check the back end to make sure. So everything the front end looks in order to me.
Yeah.
Manage issue. Again, it may be a weird side effect of the merge results, but let's just have a look. So when we do the label action, so when you okay, so we don't really need the title. I wonder if that's what it's saying, because when you, no, we don't. Now I'm getting even more confused. Where do we where do we where do we do like the bonus points, etc.? Where does that happen?
I think in the start thread method.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's probably a bit of a faux pas, right? It's not very appropriately named, maybe. Um, or does it? So yield if block given. But I can't see it doing.
No, the bonus. Where are they?
Ah, okay.
We are
So
doing that.
when you close an issue. Oh yeah, when you label an issue. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay, so it was just for the assignment. It does it. So we were looking at assignment, but yeah, when you close an issue or you label an issue, it starts a thread, pass and add and uses the issue title. Perfect. And on the manage merge request, when you label, okay, so looking at this, I would say that you don't get any points for labeling a merge request at the moment.
Mhm.
I believe that is a true statement.
Cool.
And I believe most of the time that merge requests get labeled by the merge request coach typically.
Yeah, so I don't feel like it would. Yeah, I think it would be more noise than it's worth, if you know what I mean. Like,
Mhm.
I I think if somebody's creating a merge request, like definitely we appreciate like them labeling it themselves, but we have a triage report, which means that team members, merge request coaches do label all new merge requests. So I think it's a lot less of a problem, and it's not something that we're sort of incentivizing in the same way as labeling the issues.
And it's a much
Also,
lower volume, so I don't
yeah,
feel too bad about asking them to do that
yeah.
because that's split up among a bunch of people.
Exactly. Yeah, so we're not doing anything with the title. So I wonder if that's kind of what it's. Um, I don't really feel bad though about passing it, if that makes sense, even though that we're not using it. I don't see that it really matters, right? You think that's all right, Dennis? Or
I'm coming from TypeScript world, so basically I would say no, but yeah, it's okay.
but I mean, in the front end, everything's good, right? Because we've got the merge request title on the manage merge request page. We're passing it through to label action where it's a required prop, and we're then sending it to the back end. It's the back end that's where's my code? This bit here. It's just the back end that doesn't do anything with that issue title that's sent, right?
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
So the way I see it is like that may become beneficial in the future, or um, yeah, there could be like the alternative is to put like a conditional block in here, which changes the object that's sent depending on whether it's an issue or not, and just seems a bit unnecessary,
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
makes it too
Um,
complex. Yeah, yeah. So
yeah, I think like yeah, it's not being used, that's right, but I don't think there's any harm. We've got the data already. We're sending it to the back end. If at some point in the future we want to use it, we can.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Right. Let me stop my share for a second. Jose, sorry, I just saw you loiter in there. You got anything? How you doing? You all right?
Hello, Lee.
How's it going?
All good, all good. No, basically just wanted to, to be part of this moment and I wanted to ask you, do you know about something a contributor can do related to Prometheus and Grafana?
Prometheus and Grafana. I've heard of them, but not much more than that. What's the sort of context? What are you trying to do or
No,
figure
no,
out?
I mean the point is, as you know, my main background for saying in so way is like Golang, um. So I have just been taking a look about different, let's say, components that we use at GitLab, and I realized that we use Prometheus and Grafana for observability. And I just wanted, like, like to learn a bit about them, and I think it's a good like starting point. But just that, I mean, that's all, no, nothing else.
Yeah, I vaguely so take this with a pinch of salt, but I believe from a long time ago when I heard about Grafana that it was like I'm going to call it a like graphing tool that would basically collect data and draw pretty graphs. But maybe Jim or Dennis have used either of those tools before and know more than me.
I did, yeah.
Is that vaguely right? It's sort of data collection and graphing
Um,
for Grafana, or
so Prometheus, Grafana. Prometheus is basically alert managing. So you have them combined together most of the time. Grafana is
Mhm.
basically a visualization of data and database. So you can create dashboards, you can create alert dashboards, or you can create thresholds where you get alerted through Prometheus. Prometheus, for example, also has some trigger endpoints where you can get webhooks into notifications into Slack or email or whatever.
Cool.
But yeah.
Yeah, I know they are like observe. For example, where I work, we use New Relic and Sentry. But I have heard a lot about Prometheus and Grafana, and as because of here at GitLab we use it, I thought it would be a good starting point to learn about them. That's all. And just another quick comment. I wanna thank you and Jim because you helped me a lot with that PR. We were talking like 2 weeks. You remember? On Ruby, I am like Dennis. I am coming from, well, actually Golang and TypeScript, but for me, Ruby is something completely new. So I just wanted to thank you. I'm waiting for a final review, but it looks good so far. It looks like pretty straight right now. So thank
Awesome. That was where we were looking at the API and the feature flag and yeah,
exactly.
cool, cool. I you reminded me there, I believe that last week, again, probably correct me if I'm wrong, but that we were or I was trying to get the GitLab MCP server working, um, but was having issues. I
You
spoke
were trying what? Sorry, I didn't hear you well.
trying to get the GitLab MCP server running.
MCP server. Okay, I
Yeah.
understand.
Um, Now I can't actually figure out where to go to see the conf settings.
You are
Um,
using cloud, no? That is cloud.
yeah, so the idea, and this is again my interpretation, the GitLab MCP server is for other AIs to be able to talk to GitLab, right? So I was having trouble getting it to work last week, and it seems that it boils down or stems to the fact of the way that Node was installed on my machine. So I used the package.
Can you open a terminal?
Yeah, I will have to change my sharing, but
No,
yeah.
don't worry. If you want, I don't think it's necessary you to share. I just want you
Okay.
to do
Okay.
something.
Yeah, yeah, go
Open,
on.
you have your terminal open. Type
Yeah.
node dash v version or node dash v. It's just to make sure that you have installed it and it is in the path.
Yeah, so this is the weird thing. That works absolutely fine. But if I try and just put npx in here, it doesn't work. It also doesn't work if I type which npx or which node, the path that I get is completely different to this. But if I use that path, it doesn't work. This is the only path that I could get. I even tried using Homebrew. I tried so many different approaches, and this was the only way I could get it to work.
Okay, but I mean, let's go step by step. I mean, you have Node installed and it is in the path. Okay, we have that check. You also you told me that if you also do the same with npx, you also can have it, or I mean, you have it in your path.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So the issue is that you need for it to work in cloud, you need to have it in that path, but in that path you don't have npx.
right.
Can you? I suppose that if you create like a symlink, I mean, where do you have npx in your path? It will be, I don't know, user share, I don't know, any folder. Maybe you
Yeah.
can create a symlink between the original folder and this one, and hopefully it will work.
But then, yeah, that still doesn't quite. I mean, this is now working. This is the solution, right? To use this path. But that's what I can't understand. Why does not
Did
having the path? So you're saying it's not in the path. That kind of makes sense, but then that doesn't make sense when using an absolute URL. So the
I
absolute,
understand. I
yeah.
understand.
Yeah. So I'll show you, I'll copy and paste it into this window. So
are you using
um
a tool to manage your stuff like Mize or ASDF?
yes, 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 yes. Yeah.
That's probably what the problem is because when you start up your Claude, it doesn't always take the passed in parameters from Mize.
Right. Okay. Um
So because of that,
Yeah,
your Claude
actually,
doesn't
and
exist.
now that Jin tells that, I remember I tried to install GDK using the one line installer or something like that, and it installed a lot of things in my OS. And later I have to remove them one by one, and one of them was mice. That's why I prefer to use GDK in a box because it installed lot of things
yeah.
in my host OS, so I prefer it in a box. But that's up to each person. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we've optimized that a bit more actually. Matthias on our team has managed to. I think Jim, did you comment on that? I can't remember now. Like by doing a
Yes.
shallow clone and removing some of the caches and whatnot, we've managed to get that image down from like 20 gig to 10 gig, which is
So I
pretty
have one
cool.
more question on that, real quick,
Yeah,
actually. So I was taking a look at that merge request. So when you guys clone or do all that, would it also be worth running a truncate legacy tables as well to help shrink down the Postgres database a little bit more? Because I cloned it to my PC,
hmm.
and that was one of the first things GDK Doctor said is to run that truncate legacy tables or whatever command.
I will add a note. We'll have to try it. I don't. It doesn't make sense. Not that I pretend to understand the full inner workings, but considering the database has just been created, I don't understand why or how it would have got into a state that it needs cleaning up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm not sure where the rest of the be interesting to use like a tool to see where where the remaining 10 gig or so is. But I suppose getting it smaller would help a little bit. But fortunately people generally do have like fairly fast connections these days, and we know that, you know, even the repo itself is a reasonable size, and by the time you've got the node packages and gems and other bits and pieces, like, yeah, there's only so much you can do, right?
Yep.
So I wonder if yeah, me and Dennis can maybe get some inspiration from you two for the last 10 minutes or so. So one of the things that we're focusing on at the moment is trying to, I don't know, kind of help open up the whole kind of AI catalog stuff that you'll probably remember that I was working on, I don't know, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, something like that. So it's sort of rapidly getting polished and kind of closer to fruition. In fact, it is live. You can already poke around with some of that stuff. But what we're trying to do is help like build some, I don't know, demos, some sort of stories, journeys, use cases, whatever you want to call it. And we're specifically interested, Dennis is the expert at TypeScript and VS Code extensions, etc. So we're going to kind of be focusing specifically on VS Code, maybe some other IDEs initially. So what I was hoping you might have is some ideas around like if we were to try and pick a very like popular, I don't know what you call it, like popular journey use case, like you're in the IDE, you're in VS Code, and you need some help, right? Now, I'm still a bit stuck myself thinking, well, if I need some help, I ask Duo. But we've got a generic version of Duo at the moment that you can ask any question and it will do its best to help you. But the idea of like the AI catalog, the agent catalog is that you can create custom agents and you can your agent can have whatever prompt you want it to have to be much more tailored to the tasks that you might want to ask it for. So what I guess I'm trying to understand is like, do you have a kind of use case that you think would be popular and resonate with people around, like you're in VS Code, you're doing something, maybe you do a lot of Terraform in VS Code and you need help with something, so we could try and build an agent that helps with that, or you're I don't know, like fixing Cop stuff, or like, yeah, do you have any kind of scenarios that you think would be popular, and certainly that you find yourself in an IDE working on something that you could use some tailored assistance with?
I think that something that at least for me it's pretty. I mean, it's, I think most of times when I use an AI is for this, and it's basically unit tests. So I don't know if in some way this can help your answer or whatever, I mean your question, but for me that is a basic one.
Yeah,
Maybe for example, in this PR that you both helped me with Ruby, when I finish, I don't have the enough experience to create a spec file from zero in Ruby, because I mainly don't know Ruby. I can read it
yeah.
and update it, but the AI helped me a lot, but maybe this can be a good use case, I would think. And another thing, but I think Duo already works for this. But another thing is, for example, the first time I made a contribution to the Terraform provider, I asked the AI like to give me a general, how can I say, like a summary or the insights of the repository. For example, in this folder you have this kind of code, in this other folder you have these other things,
So
things
sort of
like
exploratory sort of
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
That this is helpful mainly for new contributors,
Yeah.
that are like a
Yeah,
bit lost.
I think the unit test scenario resonates a lot more with me as something that I'm very similar. I find myself in that situation where I've written some code and I'm dreading the writing the tests.
But it what also fleshed out a bit is when you are, as Jose said, coming from a completely different background, like you are a Go or a TypeScript developer, but then digging into a Ruby project, then I think also a specialized agent, which is more focused on really best practices for Ruby and doesn't care about any other language, is also something which could probably help a little bit more than a generic one. I think maybe. So it's not even like only just unit tests, but yeah, definitely. I see that as well. But also have specialized agents for something you are at the moment trying to learn a little bit more into. Even, yeah, like a CI/CD specialized agent, because you want to get more insights into CI/CD best practices to get whatever, more security inside the pipelines or better caching, increase the
It's a
speed and so on.
it's a really good question as well because like so let's say we went with the unit test idea. Like I wonder if it should be a specific language. Like do we start quite sort of focused, um, or should it be something that is capable of a generic like you can be writing Ruby or Golang or JavaScript or whatever. Um, I feel like we'd probably get more success if we started with a tailored one and made it clear that it's easy for you to create a custom agent for any other language or um, but maybe that's something where the the kind of real test would be to imagine if we created like a Ruby unit test. And again, it probably wouldn't just be Ruby, right? Would it be specific for RSpec as well? Because would you say that like if you're writing tests using mini test or whatever it's called, then you'll probably want a specific agent. But I'd love to see, yeah, like so let's say really specific. We've got a Ruby RSpec helper agent thing, and we asked that to write us a test suite for a new class that we've created. I'd love to also have a generic test agent and ask it the same question and see how its result compares. And then to ask the generic Duo agent the same question again. Because if we don't see significant improvement between
And it doesn't.
each of these three things, then what's the benefit of having these specific tailored agents, right?
And I think I can also uh, let's say answer or give something what you also mentioned. I mean, when we as a typical user of something like this, and we just have generic questions regarding anything, I think we don't care which agent we ask. We just take the agent which is set by default or whatever and ask the question because we think we will get a sufficient answer from the AI. But to get even better feedback or improved results, something like you ask something to a generic agent, which then forwards your question to a specialized agent. maybe achieve a better result. Because I think there is a hurdle for users to, even just if it's 2 clicks to click, okay, I can click on a drop down, select another agent I want to ask, and then ask my question and press the send button.
Yeah, that's a really interesting sort of, I'd say, question more than anything, because I don't know, we need to explore a little bit to understand if there's any plans to build something like that, because my understanding is what we're referring to as flows are more capable of doing that, where the first thing we would do is ask a generic agent, oh, what specific agent would be best to answer this question, and then it asks that to that specific agent.
So one thing you mentioned, Dennis, is the best practices for like CI/CD. So some of that I can see being like a I view it as like a over the shoulder type of thing. Like a coworker walks by, gives you like, hey, you should be doing it this way instead of that. So for some things like in Ruby, like small nitpicks, I can see that. But for like larger things like CI, I can see that being more existing as part of the GitLab bot review on a MR, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Well, so we're coming at this not from a GitLab the company point of view, if that makes sense. So imagine you in your day job, like, you're writing a CI pipeline that builds and deploys I forget what they call it, like an embedded software program to an aeroplane or whatever, So it's quite sort of, not specific to GitLab, the company, the technologies we're using, the languages we're using, etc.
Right. That's why I said the CI is typically company specific, which is why I think that'd be more like.
I see what you're saying. I think still, though, the idea is that this is inspiration, right? So
Okay.
what I don't like, we're still trying to figure this out, right? But what we don't necessarily expect is to be able to create our goal isn't to create an infinite number of agents that will solve everyone's problems. Our goal is to create some specific agents that will solve some fairly popular scenarios, journeys, use cases, whatever you want to call it, but mainly to demonstrate what is possible, such that you will say, great, I see exactly what they've done and how they've done that, and I can clone that and I can modify it to work for me. And that's kind of what this catalog is all about, if that makes sense. It's about like, well, we're not the ones, GitLab aren't going to populate this catalog for everyone. We're going to have some stuff in there that we populate for sure, same as the CI/CD catalog, right? But the idea is that customers, wider community, everyone contributes, right? So what we're looking at is a couple of scenarios that we can solve with a really kind of, yeah, this resonates. I understand, like I can see like similar scenarios, how I can use this, what it can do, what it can benefit me. And that'll encourage you to go ahead and do something similar, basically. Hope that makes sense.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm hungry. I'm imagine Dennis is starving if he hasn't already.
I already.
Okay. Awesome. Great to see you all, and enjoy the rest of your